G'day and welcome to the Off-Chain Podcast. Don here with you. Our guest today is the man, the myth, the legend, Fred Schebesta. Fred is an Australian-born entrepreneur, advisor, international speaker, and founder of global fintech Finder.com, now worth over $500 million. Fred's a futurist, a cryptocurrency expert, one of the OGs. He's been scaling businesses for more than 2 decades. He's helped launch blockchain investment fund Hive Empire Capital. He helped launch Web3 gaming publisher Real World Gaming, formerly Belshazzar, and is the author of Amazon's #1 bestseller, Go Live, 10 Principles to Launch a Global Empire. Fred has written for Entrepreneur, Yahoo Finance, Huffington Post. We're really pumped to have Fred on the show today. It is an interesting conversation. You're not going to want to miss a minute of it. A little bit controversial perhaps, but as always, great fun with Fred. Let's dive in. What I'm keen to hear about is what's your kind of origin story, especially when it comes to crypto and being a crypto OG, in particular from an Australian perspective. But how did you get to kind of where you are now?
Well, I was in New York and I was building Finder over there, and everyone just kept asking about this Bitcoin thing, and I was just like, I think this is 2016, and I was just like, oh, all right, we better have a look at this. So I wouldn't say I'm like a full OG. Like I feel like a part OG. You know, I don't know, like OG, I reckon you gotta be sub 2012, 11. If you're like,
they are mythical creatures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I'm mythical, I think I'm like rare, but not legendary.
Yeah, okay.
I went pretty deep into that. And then I saw Ethereum, and I literally spent an entire night reading about this thing before, the ICO. I was like, this thing's going to be next level. This thing's beyond anything I've ever even heard about. And I just was so fascinated by it. I started learning more and more and more, and just right down this hole. And then everything blew up really big, next year in 2017, 16, end of 16 up into 17. And then we started publishing about it on Finder, referring people. And we still have a big crypto Finder section. You can compare how to buy coins and compare the different exchanges and things like that. It's a fairly wheelhouse kind of business for Finder. And then in 18, built a few just experiments, wrote a few smart contracts, and went pretty deep into trading. So we built a over-the-counter desk and started helping people trade big sums of crypto. And back then there was really very, very few desks in Australia. And that taught me so much about prices, markets, liquidity, how money flows around the world, big chunks of capital, how it moves, where it moves, who controls the price or makes the price, really not controls, but makes the price.
Sure.
Yeah. KYC, AML, compliance, all the problems and issues that you have with banking just got really close to, especially US dollars. That was pretty spicy. Pounds, Hong Kong dollars, Singapore dollars, like everything has all its nuance. And it just, opened my mind up to, I realized there's all these markets going on around the world, and crypto is just 6 to 7 times more efficient in so many different dimensions and ways. And yet here we were running this business that just made, deals over Skype that essentially anyone could do, just that we had the right access and we had the right contact and the right amount of trust that people trusted us to make those kind of prices and deals, and that we would front the money. We sold that business in 2020. It was a small sales, a small business. Actually sold it to Alameda before it blew up.
Oh, wow.
So FTX in Australia, part of its business was our old shell that they bought.
Right, okay.
We never met Sam McInfree or anything like that. We just dealt with one of their small guys. Not small guys, but like one of their other team. And yeah, that was an interesting journey. And we built Find to Earn and Find a Wallet. That was pretty painful. Find to Earn in particular, with its challenges with being sued by ASIC, defending. Yeah, it's very, very brutal. I also, considering we won the first case and now they've appealed, they were waiting for the judgment on the second one, but it says a lot. We weren't just some cowboys, throwing stuff at the wall. We've done our work, the legal work. Deep amount of legal work have been done studying. I've personally read the Corporations Act. I've, a lot of compliance I've done and understood the laws. And yeah, there are no specific crypto laws in Australia.
Yeah.
So it's pretty brutal getting sued and being the case that, determines some of that. But, that's just the way it is. Find a wallet.
I remember back in 2017, just doing a little crypto startup with a mate, and being 2017 and not many people doing what we were doing really blew up. And ASIC at the time were thinking, yeah, you can be in this regulatory sandbox. We don't know what we're doing. You don't know what you're doing. As long as, you do all right by your customers, that's fine by us. And let's work together a little bit. And then the next year they came out and basically said, look, everything you're doing is about to be either illegal, or you need all these licenses, or you'll be able to be held accountable for any losses any of your clients have. And so we were just like, man, that's the kind of scrutiny that, I think it's too difficult to actually operate in that kind of environment, especially because even though they were saying, now we're bringing out some regulations, like you say, even to the day today, it's still a little opaque as to what's going on. And so it sucks that for people like you, they're making their way through litigation rather than actually providing some clear frameworks of, oh, here you go, Australians, or, people who want to operate in Australia. This is how you can do things well and legally, but rather they're saying, well, let's be a little bit opaque, and then, there's Fred, he's doing something. Let's see how we go testing this. It's a shocker.
Many things I would like to say about that, but I guess just because I got
we shouldn't. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In case that's, to be ruled. And I have many, many, many things to say about that. I think the thing I can say, and I will say, is Australia has become an extraordinarily controlled and regulated place. And the reason for that is, which is really strange, is that when we have a problem in Australia, we look to the government to solve it, not to ourselves.
Sure.
And that's a really big issue, because essentially over a long period of time, Australians will become more and more dependent on the government because the government solves their problems, and it will become as close to a communist state as you can possibly get. It's going that way. It just will continue. Like right now, there's a pending bill that your children won't be able to choose what social media they can use. Instead, the government will parent for you. That's happening right now. And we're just letting it happen, letting it just, all these things, And I think one of the things that I find disturbing about Australia is we used to be a country where we would dream of things and creating things, and of a different future, of a bigger future, of things which most people would look at and go, oh, I dream of a world like this. And in Australia, you're seen as delusional, backward, and you're isolated and seen as, like crazy. And I think Australia needs to take a big drink out of the American way of thinking and the American way of life if they want to. If we want to get back to a stage of progress, there is no progress in Australia. We're still doing the same things we would. There's no change. There's no aspiration even for change. It's the same banking. It's the same system. There's no dream of any better future. There is no dream here. There is zero dreams. It is like a place of, and what there is, but is political regulation, identity politics, and not offending people. Like, there's only 25 million people. It's not like you're really offending that many people. Like, it's just baffling to me that this country, this it's gotten to this cultural place. It wasn't like this before. In the 70s and the 60s, it was like, Australia was like a land of opportunity. Now it's the land of regulation and identity politics and not offending people. That's Australia. Small little place, like a weird lobster tank at a Chinese restaurant, with each of the lobsters pulling each other down for no reason.
Yeah,
none. It's just bizarre.
What would be different trying to start Finder today versus when you started it, do you think?
100%. I think it's like it's a puzzling, you can't, and it's, I find it like disturbing. It's disturbing to me. It needs change. And it starts by just speaking about it, talking it out, saying, hey, it's okay to dream. And even if you're wrong, doesn't matter. Start having big dreams. Start colonizing Saturn, or do a mining rig on an asteroid. Let's get our mining skills and take it to the asteroids. There's more minerals on one asteroid than the whole of Earth. They're so rich, asteroids. Imagine just bringing that in. You become the richest nation immediately on the Earth. Well, you need to fight for it as well, but anyway. I mean, like, I'm just saying, like, let's have some, what some in Australia would say is delusional. Let's say we call those dreams and aspirations, and start actually putting out like ingenuity that we used to admire and appreciate, and starting to grow a new wave of progress. Let's step forward. It's enough looking back. Let's stop tearing down Australia Day. What the hell is that about? I don't get it. Like, it already happened. What are you going to do? Change it? Accept it. Move on. Let's keep going. Let's move forward to a new nation and create new things.
Have you thought about what steps need to be taken for that? So obviously there's a culture shift. There's a thinking shift. What about practically? What do you think needs to happen?
I think we need to practically stop writing as many laws and as many regulations, and instead, hey, just self-organize. Mm-hmm. Solve the problems yourself. That problem, government's not solving it. The people will start solving it, and instead start co-funding, and not even co-funding from the government, just less government. Start shutting down departments, start shutting down laws, repealing laws. I'd love to see that. Like, stop putting signs on all the streets where you can barely read the street because you don't know what it says. There's 7 different signs there. Stop. Take them down. Just like have one. You know what I mean? Like, it's out of control. It's genuinely out of control. Regulation, government, law writing, stop. If you're going to write a law, you have to take one back as well. That's step 1.
Oh, interesting. I mean, there's an interesting experiment obviously happening in America at the moment, Department of Government Efficiency being established, and just the winds of change with Donald Trump being elected in and whatnot. I wonder if that will be something movemental in terms of a culture shift that Australia will then adopt. If not suggesting it's kind of, an either or, but the other kind of extreme might be that Australia snaps back and goes, no, we want to delve further into that kind of, everyone suckles on the government, and, that entrepreneurial autonomy that you were talking about before kind of diminishes even further. And we'll just lose entrepreneurs to America. I mean, assuming that goes well over there. What do you think about Australians' appetite for a Department of Government Efficiency?
Zero appetite. There's just reliance. Australians don't want to deal with their own personal problems. They want to, well, and this is not everyone, but I mean, most people go and look at the government to solve problems. That's what we're taught. We just know that. And it comes from, we were convicts at the start, not, that's because we relied on our government, because you couldn't go out and plant seeds and grow crops. Instead, you would die it's what Australia was like in the beginning. It just took a while to figure it out. And now we're just chained up still to this colonial way. It's just baffling. It's puzzle. It doesn't align to entrepreneurialism. It doesn't align to crypto. All of crypto will be taken over and run by America. It's going to get taken over, because they just lent into it, and it's going to be enormous growth. And what Australia will do is watch. That's all they'll do. They'll just watch and then point fingers and just let America take the another opportunity, which is right in front of us. It's right here. It's now.
Yeah.
And all we need to do is stop suing people and just start working with the companies and start just very simply write some basic laws. Even if basic frameworks, or don't write a law. Say we're not writing laws and we're not suing people. Come and build your business here. Pay taxes here. They'll come. Stop suing people. Stop. And then crypto will come to Australia. Otherwise, all the crypto entrepreneurs will leave. They'll go to America.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the growth industry will happen. It'll happen in America. It'll be another Silicon Valley, but it'll be a crypto valley.
How do Australian entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in Australia get started in Australia? In the current environment,
They do it in the shadows. They don't participate with the government. They don't go and talk to the government. They don't get involved with the government. They don't talk to corporations. They just ignore them because they're not even, it's just irrelevant. It's genuinely irrelevant. It doesn't make any sense. It needs to be unregulated and encouraged. It needs to be encouraged. And if there is someone that does something genuinely wrong, like FTX, which did have an AFSL, by the way, they had an AFSL. So, I don't know, that seems unusual to me. When they've done something wrong, then I think you need to go after that. But I mean, go after people who are genuinely doing wrong things and not people who have done no harm, and instead try and prove your laws that you can regulate your people with when you're just scaring everyone away and no one's going to come and actually play with you. Everyone's leaving. You're going to put all these signs up at the playground, but no one wants to go to that playground because there's a playground just next door on a plane flight, and you just go sit up there and they like you. They don't go and regulate you and sue you and well, they were, but that guy's, that's going to be changed, pretty quickly and pretty swiftly. And that's what's happening. It's like the internet. We just watched the internet get built in Australia and just watched it. It's there. There's no problems accessing it. There's no problems accessing crypto. There are great crypto founders that are Australian, but instead you've got a lawmakers and regulator that are just killing the progress of Australia. Our children, the children of Australia, will not be in crypto businesses. They'll go to America.
Yeah. Or remotely, maybe? Remote startups?
Some might be remote, but most, you'll just want to leave. Why would you want to hang out with people who aren't into it? Go and hang out with people who are.
Yeah. How do you find that then, being based in Australia, Australian company? I mean, I know you're doing things that aren't based in Australia necessarily as well, but how do you go, where's the community, where are the, that kind of cadre or cohort of crypto entrepreneurs that spur one another on, or, where the collective helps each individual part? Do we have any semblance of that in Australia? Is there, because I hear of startups all the time. I hear of people trying to do things in blockchain all the time. Obviously, the regulatory environment is not conducive to, a whole swathe of people building, but people are still building.
Yeah, it's done in the shadows.
Yeah, right.
People meet in the shadows. They organize in the shadows. They don't put their head up. That's the way it runs.
Yeah. Well, for entrepreneurs who might be, not in Australia, but in other jurisdictions that similarly are quite restrictive and prescriptive, is the answer to move? That's it? Or, build in the shadows or move?
I think build in the shadows or leave. Go to America. America is about to become the crypto capital. They are very entrepreneurial. They have amazing engineers. They put capital behind things. They have dreams of the future. They will take risks that Australians will call delusional. It's time Australia needs to wake up. Like, Australia's actually deluding itself by not taking risks, because the world's a risky place. And imagine this. Okay, imagine you went to school with someone, you went to university with someone, and then in 10 years time, they turned around and they became a billionaire from a tech startup or some startup they did that took a big risk that everyone thought was like pretty crazy to go and do, but they pulled it off.
Mm-hmm.
And people backed them. VCs backed them. People funded them, and it happened. Just for a moment, imagine that you were hanging out with that person. That's what it feels like to be in America.
Right.
That's why you'd want to go and build that, because you'd go and hang out with more people who know those stories. They believe in those stories. And because they believe in those stories, they will work so hard in your startup to make themselves one of those stories.
Mm-hmm.
And, there is obviously exceptions of that in Australia, but many, many, many of them leave. And there's an exodus of talent leaving Australia. And it is only going to get faster because the next industry will not be in this country due to the litigious approach. Unless there is, number one, a change in government. The Labor government's absolutely nothing for crypto. They've just let the regulators just stomp all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Is a change to a Liberal government. You get back to actually putting some regulation that is favorable and unrestrictive and allows Australians to actually go and build businesses, and has a favorable environment where it's lent in. It's not done in a way that's, extortionate. Instead, it's done in a really, the less amount of regulation, in fact, the better. And, but done in a way that's very, very conducive to innovative entrepreneurs creating things. That's what we need. That would change the structure and shape and trajectory of this country, because that is one of the industries that's going to grow. Crypto is going to grow. AI is going to grow. I think, EVs, space tech, everyone, you can see where the change is happening. It's not pulling minerals out of the ground and just selling them overseas. Like, there's plenty of places to go and do that. It's not like it's a monopoly. I think we need to move forward. We need like a change of government that's progressive, that is lent in, that is working with, and is less regulation. There needs to be less government in business and more business in government.
Right. Do you feel any responsibility in that, being someone who is an entrepreneur, who has built like multiple things, who has that kind of a vision for the future of the country? Or are you more in the, well, I'll just build, I'll be the example of how to do it?
I don't rely on the government in any way. I don't want to rely on the government anyway. In fact, the government
speaking into that.
But
so there's more business in government.
Lobby. I gave testimony in the Senate of Australia about what they should do for regulation in crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And the end result of that is that the government sued me. But like just think for a moment, like, would I feel any reason to feel for a moment a level of responsibility when I have tried to put for free my effort and my mind to something and submit what I think could happen, should happen, and instead I created no harm. In fact, try to avoid harm of customers,
mm-hmm.
and instead do it as legally as I possibly can. And instead, my result is I am the one pinned up to go and get sued. That doesn't create a good environment. I feel it's not an environment where I feel I don't think I need to take responsibility for that, given that doesn't seem to have served me in any of the actions. It didn't seem to register that potentially you got someone trying to go and do something, instead you lead to that outcome. I'm not into it. I'd rather leave.
do you think of yourself then in terms of like, are you a startup founder? Are you a technologist? Are you an investor? Are you an ideas man? Like, how do you think about yourself in that way then?
I think it's sort of like as a creator.
Creator, yeah, right.
I create things that bring people together, I create visions, I step through problems. And my goal is to create amazing things which last for long, that, I see my job as anything that I do create or am trying to create. Its goal is to avoid dying for as long as possible. And I don't think I've created my best creation yet either. I just started.
Is it because the technology hasn't existed, or is it because you're still developing as a creator?
I think the idea is still arriving.
Yeah, okay.
I think the ideas are already out there, right? I think I see like ideas are already out there. I'm just like this vessel that it arrives, and then I'm like, I didn't create the idea. The idea was already out there. The universe of possibilities already exists. I am just, it hasn't arrived yet, and I haven't manifested that moment and when that was going to happen. And I'm on that journey. I'm seeking, I'm trying, I'm experimenting, I'm constantly creating. And it's fun.
Is that the difference? Is that the difference in mindset between a creator and an investor, or a creator and a founder, or a creator and an entrepreneur? Categorically, I guess, is it that experimentation? Is it that your risk aversion is real low, even though you're trying to discern with wisdom, and you're trying to do good things, make your best next step. Being frivolous, but not risk averse either. How do you describe the mindset of a creator as distinct from an entrepreneur or a founder or an investor?
I think an entrepreneur is, they can be creators as well, but really good entrepreneurs, I think I'm at the style. I think mine is in creativity, and some of those things come out in projects. Some of them come out in campaigns. Some of them come out in music. Some of them come out in business structures or solutions. All businesses I think face problems. Is about how the way I solve that is through creativity. And other people build businesses where they're not, their creativity, they don't see themselves as, I'm gonna win on creativity edge. Instead, I'm gonna win on, I'm gonna work harder than everyone else. I'm gonna, I've got a special formula that no one else has got. I have analyzed something for 25 years, and this is my answer that I think will win. I've got a special potion that I invented. I think there are many ways you can win. Mine, I feel, is to win through creativity.
What does winning look like? What does that mean?
Winning means avoiding death for as long as possible.
Yeah, gotcha.
Survive, endure, and thrive for as long as possible.
Yeah, I'm glad you included thrive, because just being not dead, it doesn't necessarily mean a meaningful life. But thriving,
just existing, unfortunately, in our universe that we currently know, entropy is a brutal thing, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah. But so what do you wish you knew, talk to Fred 15 years ago? What do you wish you knew back then? Now you're a serial entrepreneur and benefit of experience and, longevity and putting things into practice. But what do you wish you knew early? Like for our first time entrepreneurs who are listening, people who want to be creators, perhaps, and not just, stuck in one kind of lane or category. What do you wish you knew?
If you want to take a creative approach, I think you got to just ignore the haters, ignore the good advice. In fact, good advice is just feedback. You gotta deeply, passionately back yourself and go and as quickly as possible make as many mistakes so as that you intuitively know what decisions to make faster.
Good on.
And just people who have like strong conviction that have against your idea, just say, nah, I thank you, but we're still going that way. I thank you for raising the risk. Normally it's like, thank you for the feedback. Thank you for raising the risks. Thank you for making me aware of all the problems that do exist. Now, can you start to give me 3 solutions?
Yeah.
It's great. We had that feedback session. It's cool. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more conviction. Back yourself harder. Because, I think I go for big ups and big downs.
Yeah.
So it's, I'm not playing like my standard deviation is much wider. I think the other thing I would tell myself 15 years ago is dream bigger.
Okay.
Go to America. But I mean, dream bigger. I genuinely mean that. Don't worry if it sounds delusional. In fact, if it doesn't sound very delusional, you haven't dreamt big enough. Go and dream again. Go and work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And come back when you've got a bigger dream. You may find a dream along the way and keep building on it. That's fair. I just think, you're going to be working at this for a long time. 15 years, a long time. And you look back and you go, okay, what did I do? Okay, went on tour. You may as well have dreamt real big about it because you're probably going to get there because you're crazy enough to hang on for 15 years. And when I say hang on, I mean survive all the challenges and create past them and, keep growing and keep thriving and keep dealing with all the issues. And, I think it feels a lot like you're just hitting your head against the wall and then eventually you stop and then things start coming together. They will come together, but don't go short, go long, bigger.
How do you see that?
But that goes back to my 15 myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to live longer, maybe you don't need to go back. You just start now and live another 15 years.
100%. I mean, I'm not worried about that. I just do.
How do you then translate that to, founders that you want to work with or invest in? What are you looking for regarding founders? What do you want to see in them? Assuming that their idea is really good.
I want to see that their idea is contrarian.
Right.
Actually, not just contrarian, non-consensus. Like no one believes that no one believes the idea. I want to see that.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see it's not like, there's a difference here because contrarian is like, oh, I think the opposite to what the banks think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, you don't. You just think the same thing as them. You just think the other answer that they're not going for, and you're probably going to get minced. No, like non-consensus means no one thinks like that and opposite to that. In fact, they're like, no, you're delusional, which is should probably call the podcast delusional. Oh, but delusional to me is, and I think that's that moment, people hear American businesses and they go, they're trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
No chance. And then some of them do.
Yeah. So they have the vision that people can't see. But they should
dream. Yeah. They just ignore you imagine the delusion of the 21-year-old and 20-year-old guys sitting around in a room writing a constitution for a country.
Yeah.
That's how old they were. Imagine how delusional they were. Like, imagine now 21-year-olds getting together and writing a constitution of a country and going, yeah, that's how we're going to live. Like, the delusionalness. Think about it just for a moment. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's how it began, that country. That level.
Yeah,
We're going to build
a company. You accidentally say company, but even 21-year-old, writing constitution for a company, you'd be like, come on, son.
Literally. That's the level. You need to be that delusional to go through all of the trials and tribulations and withstand the pain. It's like abnormal amounts of pain, but you're just like, I'm so deluded that I don't care. And I think I look back at myself 15 years ago, I was genuinely pretty delusional. I started in 2009 during the financial crisis. That's so good. That's funny.
Yeah, man. But think about the opportunity in 2009, though. Exactly like you say, everybody's gone, holy moly, we're cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's done. I didn't even. I was like, financial crisis. I don't feel anything. Let's keep going. Great try. Let's keep going.
Oh man. So what do you want to see more of then? Just in the market in general, maybe not from an investor's perspective, but what are you hoping? Like, what does it need what does the market need? Maybe if we just hone in on crypto market, what does it need to get from here to where we need to go?
We need a favorable nation state to house this stuff. I'm seeing that. We need, well, not from Australia, but
Sure,
not from the Labor government at least. We need to see. I have this theory right now. It's it depends on what you're solving for and what use cases you're talking to. I think Bitcoin's narrative has just gotten so much bigger recently.
Yeah.
So much bigger. I think we are, we're at 92 grand today. I think we're on a freight train to at least we're going to go past 140, if not 180. I think 180. We are on a, and that's bold of me to say that. It's not financial advice as well, but I mean, like, Bitcoin's not a financial product by the way. So I can say that, and I know that because I've been to the federal court, and I can tell you what is cryptocurrency, and it's not money. It's not a financial product. So I can tell you to buy Bitcoin. But that is that narrative has become bigger, and it's expanding. And I think the other, usages, tokenizing assets, tokenized utility, it makes sense. I think there are some incredible, still more and more use cases coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's happening, and it's happening faster and faster. There are more teams coming in, more engineers, I think less people who are deluded and have left. It's just less of them.
Yeah.
And staying around for more cycles. And there's the young people right now, the 20-year-olds. They are so keen. They're so good. So good to see, And I think these generations coming through, I think it's amazing. I think it's a scene, obviously, I'd call it sort of 3 cycles. My third one, I think you need at least 3 to like, get a decent enough grip of, because you go through all the emotions, and then you go through them again, and then you're like, oh, that was what those were,
Yeah.
So I just sort of point the finger at myself really, and think about what I'm going to do. And I think people are doing other people are doing a great job.
Yeah, nice. Are there any narratives that you're chasing, or that you think are particularly prone for opportunity at the moment?
I love BTC Fire. I like DeFi on Bitcoin, with EVMs. I love DeFi. I love it. I think BTC Fire is going to be big and continues to. You've got $1 trillion of assets sitting there.
Yep.
Just sitting there. Whereas, ETH's moving around. And I think as more and more Bitcoin like that moves around and does stuff, it becomes even more valuable, more tied up, less supply, more, just. And what a great asset to back things with. So solid. So such sound money. I think plugging in AI agents into complex problems or complex things in crypto. There's a really good project called Derive.xyz. They're sort of the biggest decentralized options exchange, and I think they're really moving into solving that and making it simple via AI. And I think that's what AI does really well. It just interfaces with complex things really well. You can code easily. And encoding up options and doing all sorts of really precise instruments, I think, is a great use case. I do think that narrative is very strong.
Yeah.
I think there are lots of really good use cases with GambleFi. It's one that stood the test of time and it's continuing to do well. I think it's an expanding market, and I think it's a natural use case, a global way to get entertained.
We had John from Real World Gaming on the show, and he was just talking about how they started with GameFi, and then they had tens of thousands of people using their platform, and then they kind of said to their community, hey, or they didn't even ask necessarily, but they saw how their community engaging with the platform, and then they segmented just that little part there, and then they went deeper into there and said, okay, and now how are you? What is the most popular part? And they just came back down to gambling. And so, yeah, man, I mean, as you know, they just pivoted right into that and said, well, it's how people want to engage with this platform, and the people have spoken. And, obviously that was the funnest or most engaging portion of what they were offering. And so that's when I went on it. Classic pivot.
There you go. I think, meme coins are going off right now, and I think that's capitalizing attention. That's sort of what I see it. Just anything that people are looking at, you're sort of putting a value on that. That's how I rationalize meme coins. And so because attention's fleeting, then, the prices go up and then they go down, and it's a natural cycle. And I think even though it goes so fast, I just think it's normal. Companies that used to be in the top 10 back in the 1970s in the S&P 500, the top 10 companies were, chemicals and telco and stuff like that. But now they're not in the top 10. They're not dead, but they're just, they're not growing super fast. They're not super exciting. That was their time in the sun. It just takes longer for that whole thing to run through.
Mm-hmm.
I see it the same way.
Yeah.
Just sped up.
Yeah, I think that's right. And in particular with, meme coins being about attention. And one of the things that I think you're very well known for, at least in Australia, if not just in the crypto community generally, is for getting attention. You know how to cut through, get your message to cut through, get your face to cut through, get your words to cut through, your projects to cut through. Man, how have you thought about applying that to meme coins, or are you avoiding meme coins, or is that something that interests you, being that you have expertise in the attention game?
I love attention. I think there's a part of me right now, I'm lent into it, but a part of me with anything I sort of create is, I think there's a certain part of the PvP nature of meme coins that I'm quite challenged by. I find it hard to rationalize, and maybe I just haven't done enough thinking on it. And, but maybe I should. I was helping out one of these projects, just, casually. It was one called Fridge. And they launched a coin in Harvey Norman, with one of the managers, and on one of the fridges, the smart fridges with a screen.
Oh yeah.
And the coin, it still exists, $ fridge, whatever. And it was just so much fun. And I invited the guys around to go and film content at my place. They got like the nice view, and you can see a bunch of. I just thought it's fun. I love the whole thing. I just thought it's exciting, and I just thought this is cutting through. I love it. And I wanted to help them out. So I sort of I just sort of said, hey, whatever else you need, how can I help you? And they said, can I bring the fridge around? I said, sure, bring the fridge around. Put the fridge up next to the pool. It's good. It's funny. It's funny. It's good. And yeah, but I haven't got as involved in meme coins.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, interesting. I actually haven't heard someone refer to it as PvP before, but there's a definite PvP element there. Hey.
Yeah, like you're talking about like 1,000 people basically playing the greater full game, and the last one with the bag loses.
Yeah, or sometimes it's the last 80% with the bag loses. Well, okay, speaking about intention, what's getting your attention? Think about 2025 with regard to Finder, just your own stuff. What has your attention right now?
I'm really looking at this. I looked very carefully at that election. I think that was a big deal. I think the way markets are reacting right now is so interesting. I'm watching that very carefully, and I'm watching what things are moving and why, and trying to like think about what does that lead to and where does that go. I think another thing is interest rates. People are hurting really badly right now. And I think that was a big determinant of the American election. Just Biden thing, and people have had enough. And people have had enough in Australia. It's not easy under Albanese. It's really not. Like, it sucks right now. It's like $35 to go and get breakfast. You know what I mean? Like, it's like $10 to drive your car over the bridge under a tunnel. Like, what the hell? One way or two ways is what it's out of control. You can't buy a house. Most people are struggling, and it's not easy under Albanese. It's not. And I think that causes big swings. I think there's going to be movement in this country, in Australia. Big swings coming.
You don't have to answer this, but do you have confidence in the alternative government? Because I was thinking about this literally this morning, going, oh man, it's similar to what you just said. Labor government, they seem to be, incompetence after incompetence, but I don't have any faith that a change of government is going to significantly change, any of that. I mean, a change to a more competent government would. I'm just not convinced that the alternative government right now is actually going to be competent where this one isn't. Or is it just symbolic change is all we need, do you think? Or at least as a start, we need symbolic change?
I think
in America, all they have is symbolic change so far until the 20th of January. They have symbolic change.
Yeah. I think both. I think the symbolism is important. I think the message is important. I think people voting, and how they vote is important. And then I think there are competent people in government. They exist. I've met some.
Yeah.
And they get it. They actually get it. They're like, well, let's let the government, less government in business and more business in government. Get more things done. Get them done, And I really deeply feel that a change, there were things, particularly in the crypto industry, but we got to change the perspective. We need to move to progress mode. You don't. So the way you get out of a cost of living crisis and the way you get out of inflation is growth. That's the only way out. Innovation and growth. You just think you can't just raise interest rates and then it doesn't just, everyone just shrivels up and dies. Like it doesn't make things grow. And what you need is innovation. And the internet brought innovation.
Yeah.
The mining boom brought into innovation. We need to innovate out of this, not regulate or interest rate.
Nice.
I should write that down on a great man's podcast.
That was good. I like to ask or finish the show by asking basically the same question. And that is, what is your most contrarian view, or where everybody's looking to the right, and what are you looking to the left, or everyone's attention's over there, but you're like, well, what about this? Whether or not you talk about it a lot or just think about it, can be in crypto or any part of life at all.
Like I've started writing about it a little bit on Twitter, and I think there is no freedom of speech. Freedom of speech has died in Australia, and I think that it's as close to I don't know whether it's fascist or communist. Like it's not communist, but it's probably you are not allowed to step out of line, and it's constant laws and rules upon rules in this country. And when I point out to people like we're just letting it slip by more and more and more and more every day, people go, "Oh no, no, we're not. It's fine." And just the temperature is being turned up, and someone needs to I'm stopping and I'm speaking out about it, and people don't like it when I do. I go, stop pissing on Australia Day. Stop. Like you can't do anything about it. Stop. Just acknowledge that there were people that came and that's what they did, and accept it and move forward. Go and create something new. Go and create a new flag and get rid of the Union Jack off ours and get rid of that association if you have to. But step forward. Do something. Stop pointing fingers at each other. That's the biggest problem in Australia right now from stopping progress. And we need to honor the heroes and dreamers now. That's what we need to do, because we need great men. And that's, I say that, great men and women, but literally great men and build statues about them, and great women and build statues about them. Heroes. That's what we need right now. We need heroes, because people are not equal. They're not equal. Different people have different amounts of ability.
Sure.
And we should want that and stop trying to make everyone equal. And that and that's what we need to change. And I keep talking about that, and it doesn't come off too politely.
Are there any unsung heroes in your own kind of world or sphere of influence that you're like, this person keeps going this way, they'll have a statue built for them?
Well, latest campaign we did with Fonda was Ray Gun. When she danced, and a lot of people don't like her, but I said, and we said no. Like, you're doing someone who went to the Olympics. She knew what she was doing. She knew she was going to get controversy, right? She still went out there and did that. She knew she wasn't going to win. She was trying to win. She was fighting the number one competitor in the world, and she knew she had to win on something. So she went for creativity, and she went for vocabulary. And both of those things came off Australian. And we need to accept now the highest selling Halloween outfit. I think it'll be worn on Australia Day as well.
Oh yeah.
It is now part of our culture, and we need to move past pointing at each other and go, yeah, accept that. And this is part of who we are. We're a bit zany, a bit weird, and own it and move forward. Move forward and change. She's changed. She brought breakdancing and changed it. I'm like, good. Let's do more things. Let's go and change the way we play cricket. Let's go and change the way the airlines run. Like, what if Qantas did something innovative for once, ever? Like, you know what I mean? Like, move forward. Accelerate. Expand. Do more. Be delusional.
That's the message of the podcast today.
What's the message?
Be delusional.
Oh, yeah.
Embrace it.
Embrace your people who, lean into it.
Yeah, man. Hey, Fred, if people want to hear more from you, where can they find you online?
Jump on Twitter. I'm tweeting right now. Not that many people follow me. I don't have a big following, but I write very carefully, and I care about what I write about. And hopefully some people might like it. Maybe some people won't.
Good on you, man. Really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your perspective and Yeah, man, all the best for 2025. All the best with your interactions with the Aussie government over the coming weeks and months. And we'll be watching and hoping for the best.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Off Chain. And we love bringing you great guests like Fred, and hope you've learned more about Web3, about technology, about the future, and a little bit more about where you might want to launch your next endeavor, geographically and jurisdictionally speaking. As always, like, subscribe, or better yet, share this episode with a friend. Help us spread the word, and join us again next week for another great episode of Off Chain. Till then, take care.